ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸਚ ਤੋ ਸੋ ਨਾਥ ਅਨਾਥ ਨਾਮੋ ਸਰ ਤੋ ਸੋ ਨਾ ਦਾਨੀ ਨਾਮੋ ਸੋ ਭਿਖਾਰੀ ਮੋਸੋ ਨਾ ਦੀਨ ਦਇਆਲ ਨਾ ਤੋ ਸਰ ਮੋਸੋ ਅਗਿਆਨ ਨਾ ਤੋ ਸੋ ਬੇਚਾਰੀ ਮੋਸੋ ਨਾ ਪਤਿਤ ਨਾ ਪਾਵਨ ਤੋ ਸਰ ਮੋਸੋ ਬੇਕਾਰੀ ਨਾ ਤੋ ਸੋ ਉਪਕਾਰੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਹੈ ਅਵਗੁਣ ਤੂ ਗੁਣ ਸਾਗਰ ਜਾਤਰ ਸਾਤਲ ਓਟ ਤਿਹਾਰੀ ਗਿਆਨ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਸਾਰ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਭ ਤੇ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਜਿਨ ਕਲ ਰਾਖੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਸਾਜੀ ਨਵਾਜੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀਓ, we're so blessed to be sitting in the presence of Dhan Dhan Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Namo Namo Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Vah Vah Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Jai Jai Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Dhan Dhan Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Sadh Sangat Ji, I don't have anything in me to do Katha. But because Maharaj has given me this seva, I ask you for your blessings so that I may be able to do this Katha. So through your Fateh, please bless me. Bulao Fateh Sadh Sangat Ji, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. On the very first day of camp, we received a hukamnama from Maharaj, which was, Kyon simri sivrya nahi jaye? Ki Maharaj main simran kiਵੇਂ kara? And Maharaj on the same day gave us the answer. Nadar kare ta simrya jaye. With grace, with kirpa, you can do simran. But in that same hukamnama, Maharaj gave us the blessing of Nirgun Upashana, of Ahangra Upashana. Atma Paratma Eko Kare. Sadh Sangat Ji, Nirgun Upashana, or the devotion of the formless, all-pervading Vaheguru, is the penultimate devotion right before the mergence with Vaheguru. And that is the blessing that Guru Granth Sahib Ji gave to the entire Sangat at this camp. And it is this Upashana that Dhan Dhan Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj often talked about in their udasiyan, in their travels. But there's prep work that you have to do before you can do this type of devotion. Earlier this week, Adarniye Gyani Kuljit Singh Ji taught us that you have to have selflessness inside you. You have to recite Maharaj's Naam, and you have to earn honestly. This is the prep work. Then, Adarniye Gyani Sukharaj Singh Ji told us, turn your mind inward from the vices, especially in the age of Kaljug. That is your prep work. And today we arrive at the third phase of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's journey, a phase that is primarily dominated by Udasiyan, their travels to different places. Whether Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to the north, to the Himalayas, or to the other mountains, where they found Siddhs and Sadhus who were engaged in penances, in austerities, to collect power. Whether Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to the south of India, where the dominant faith was something called Hatha Yoga, putting your body through very tough circumstances in order to gain control of the mind. Or whether Maharaj went beyond India to the Muslim fakirs who were in so much ego of their laws, of their sharia, that when Maharaj told them about kirtan, they said that it was haram to sing. And then Guru Nanak Dev Ji proved to them why kirtan was an essential aspect of devotion. The issue with every place that they went to was that there wasn't propagation of the truth. There was something missing. That the reason that these Siddhs, these fakirs would go into worship or into any type of penance was because they wanted fame, power, attention. But there was an even bigger problem. These Siddhs and Sadhus and fakirs, they had authority. The masses in India and the surrounding areas all around the world looked to these people for religious guidance. But the issue was they themselves had not witnessed what the ultimate truth was. That was an issue. And that's why it was so imperative for Guru Nanak Dev Ji to go to the leaders of the sects, the ones that were considered the highest, the authorities, and teach them where they went wrong and how they can propagate truth. In fact, it's within these udasis that you'll find that one of the fakirs asked Guru Nanak Dev Ji who should be doing parchar in the first place. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, if you don't have Brahm Gyan, if you have not seen the light, the truth for yourself, you do not have the right to do parchar. And that's a wake-up call for me as a parcharak, to make myself get there and then be able to do true parchar. Because there's a risk. If you haven't firmly seen what the truth is, or you're not following a guideline to the T that is preaching truth, such as Guru Granth Sahib Ji, there is a risk that what you're propagating is not fully true. And that is a disservice to Guru Nanak Dev Ji. This was such a huge problem that it is the first thing that Guru Nanak Dev Ji chose to address after giving the world Mool Mantar. If you read Japji Sahib, after Mool Mantar, Maharaj goes into Socha Soch na hovai, Je Sochi Lakhwar. That just by cleaning yourself from the outside doesn't mean that your inside or your mind is going to be cleaned. Chuppe chup na hovai, Je lai raha livtar. Just because so one of the penances, one of the taps was to keep quiet for many, many years. And Maharaj says, just because you keep quiet doesn't mean that your mind stops craving things that it isn't shouting. Bhukhya bhukh na uttari, je banna puriya par. Just because you keep fasts, which many of these fakirs and sadhus did, Just because you can control hunger doesn't mean that the hunger inside your mind is controlled. Sahas siyanapa lakh hohe ta ik na challa naal. Just because you accumulate intelligence and buddhi doesn't mean that any of it matters when you finally have to merge or when you finally have to leave. That's how important it was, the very first thing Guru Nanak Dev Ji addressed after Mool Mantar. So one of the sakhis that we're going to look at today, because all of the udasis are very difficult to condense into a short period of time, we're going to be looking at the second udasi. Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to meet the faqirs that used to live in Sarsa. And the reason we're looking at this sakhi is because it can be used as an exemplar. A lot of the teachings Guru Nanak Dev Ji gave in this sakhi, they gave similarly to the other yogis, whether it was Mashindranath, Gorakhnath, and the faqirs that they met in Kandahar or Afghanistan. So we can use this as an exemplar. These faqirs, even though they were Muslims, because they lived in India, they were so influenced by the surrounding religions. So they actually did practice Hatha Yoga, even though they were Muslims. They did practice doing fasting to gain power. And so Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to them on their second udasis to tell them the wrongdoings and where they were getting. The issue with these faqirs was, even though you can give the benefit of the doubt to all of these sadhus, you can say perhaps when they started their devotion, when they started their penances, they really did want to meet Vaheguru. You may give them that benefit of the doubt. But somewhere along the way, they were sidetracked, and what they ended up wanting was fame, power, attention, which ended up building so many layers of identity around them that their spiritual evolution had come to a stop. It had halted. They were stuck. And so Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to them to teach them how they can unstuck themselves. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to talk to them, they told Guru Nanak Dev Ji the reason they wanted to meet Guru Nanak Dev Ji at Sarsa was, well, we called them Guru Nanak Dev Ji, but that is not what everybody else looked at them like. They thought, who is this person coming here trying to tell us that we're not doing it correctly? So they thought, we'll overpower him with wit, and if that doesn't work, we'll overpower him with supernatural powers. But we're going to get him to bend. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji replied and said, I understand why you do these penances. I understand why you undergo these fasts. You're doing it so that you can control your mind. But I can tell you that there are easier ways to control your mind. Not every single person in the world can keep a 40-day fast. And through those easier ways, you can actually merge with Vaheguru. And one of these faqirs, his name was Jalaluddin. He says, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, you really want to prove to us that there's something greater than what we do? Then you prove to us that you can beat us at our own game first. You show us that you can do a fast, a penance, as long as we do it, and we can be the judge of whether maybe there might be something greater. Then Guru Nanak Dev Ji replied by saying, I've tried all of this before. I've done the taps, I've tried renunciation, I've tried all of this, and I am telling you, there is nothing greater than the Simran of Vaheguru, than the devotion and love of Vaheguru. And Jalaluddin responded saying, don't change the subject, do the tap, and then we'll consider you good enough to listen to your Updesh. And so one of the Sikhs that was with Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Bhai Saddo, said to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Maharaj, why get involved in all of this? These are worthless exercises, they've got so much hankar, let's leave. Because Guru Nanak Dev Ji had agreed, they said, fine, I'll do the tap with you. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji replies to Bhai Saddo and says, if a child gets stuck in mud, then in order for the mother to remove that child from the mud, the mother has to go into the mud and get dirty herself. And so Guru Nanak Dev Ji agreed to do the tap. This was the fast. 40 days, and you have 40 grains of barley, 1 bowl of water. That's it. You'll be allotted a room, and you'll have a guard outside. This was, keep in mind, being done in the summer months, where it's very hot. Can you imagine? It's very hot here, and I'm sure a lot of you are very thirsty. But to do this in a room throughout the very hot months for 40 days with only 1 bowl of water, 40 grains of rice. They all went into their rooms, the guards standing outside, and they weren't allowed to leave. 40 days, no eating. Tap was over, and the fakirs came out. And when they came out, you saw their bodies, they had lost a lot of muscle mass, they became weak, and their bodies were yellow. Not only that, it took them 2 or 3 days to resettle their consciousness, because as soon as they were so hungry, they couldn't actually even function. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji comes out of his room, shining bright red face, fully healthy body, and fully alert. After the fakirs became alert, they go to Guru Nanak Dev Ji and say, how can you look like that after coming out of a 40-day fast? Did you cheat? Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, ask your guard. He'll tell you if I cheated or not. And the guard said, nope. They didn't leave, and they didn't eat any other food. And the sadhus, their hankar had been broken. Someone just did a fast like it was nothing. And here we are, struggling in our lives to do these fasts, to gain power, to gain some kind of fame. And he just did it like it was nothing. And so their heads bowed. They said, Maharaj, what is it that you did? Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, you did your tap differently than I did. You concentrated on different things. You concentrated your mind so that your body would get tougher. But I was sitting in there, remembering Vaheguru. And do you know what happens at the very high stages of remembrance? The love of Vaheguru is so strong that the subtle elements called the Suksham Tat, which are the Sevadars of Vaheguru, they come in through your breath and leave and are responsible in nourishing your body. And that's what happened through the love of Vaheguru. And then these sadhus, they fell at the feet of Guru Nanak Dev Ji because they had said, we'll fall, but first you beat us at our own game, and he did. Then they asked Guru Nanak Dev Ji, what is your path? And how do we get what you have? That's when Guru Nanak Dev Ji revealed 2 things. They said this path isn't easy, and you'll need 2 things. You'll need effort, and you'll need grace. With only one, you won't move forward. You need both. This concept is known as prasad and prayas. Your effort, the Sikh's effort, and the Guru's grace. That's what you need on this path. But sometimes as Sikhs, we often say, Ki mere te ta kirpa hundi hoi nahi hegi. How come I don't have kirpa on me? How do I get Maharaj's kirpa? Kirpa is not something that comes in small bouts. That it comes sometimes, it doesn't come some other time. Kirpa is like a torrential rain in the monsoon. It is always, always on. It is always raining down on the Sikhs. Always. The problem is we are like buckets on the floor. Some of us, the buckets are turned upside down. Will the bucket be able to retain any of the water that drips down from that rain? No. Effort is that thing that turns that bucket right side up, and the kirpa that has always been on now enters. You become receptive, perceptive to kirpa. You become a vessel that can hold kirpa through effort. Maharaj sees your effort, whether that's effort through seva, whether that's effort through simran, whether that's any type of worship, devotional effort, and there is grace, there is the turning of your bucket. You are becoming receptive to grace. When Maharaj, and plus other Sikhyas, when Maharaj started to recite these to the faqirs, all of a sudden they went into these, they would have these feelings of anand, and they said, this can't be some ordinary enlightened being. So one of the faqirs, his name was Bahawal, he asked Guru Nanak Dev Ji, did you do some yog penances? Have you done bhakti? And did you get enlightenment? Or are you coming from the other side as a messenger of God? And to that, Guru Nanak Dev Ji replied, but before they went into a complete trance. And they went into that time, they started to remember the time that they merged with their Nij Swarup at Vainadi. And they recalled that when I merged, when I was completely turned into water, that's when I received 3 things from God. I received, go sing the praises day and night. Go say Sachi Sift Salaha, go praise. Number 3, Vaheguru gave me Naam. And here I am giving that out to you guys, the faqirs. But one other thing Guru Nanak Dev Ji mentioned here was, you have to recite name with love. And we come back to that word, love. It has become so ambiguous in our heads. We hear, you have to love, you have to love, you have to love, all the time, to a point that when we hear, you have to love, it goes in through one ear and it comes out the other. But when I was reading these udasiyan, in almost every single sakhi, there was love. You have to recite with love. And in some of these sakhis, it was strongly, strongly dominant in the sakhi. That can't be a coincidence. Then you look at Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, who adorned the Khalsa with shastras, with weapons. Intuitively, that feels like that can't be anywhere near the sensation of love. But they adorned you with weapons, they covered you with sarblo, they gave you energy to fight the tyrants. They are the most exalted warrior this earth has ever seen. And even they say, Saach kaho sun leho sabay jin prem kiyo tenhi prabh payo. There has to be some substance there. Something has to be there. So it's our responsibility that it doesn't just graze one ear and come out the other. There is something there that we're not holding on to. And as Prachariks, I often get told, we learn a lot of things in Katha, but we don't know how to apply them. How do we actually get what you're talking about? And so, forgive me, but I'm going to go on a little tangent, because we're going to try something here. The question is, well, what is love, and how do I get it inside of me? How do I cultivate it? And the truth is, the cultivation happens through praising. This is the technology Guru Nanak Dev Ji gave us. Amrit Vela Sach Now, 2 things. Vadhyai Sach Now, Vadhyai Vichar. Those 2 words are not said there as fillers. They are fundamental to your progression in spirituality. The Vadhyai Vichar portion is what allows you to cultivate love. How so? Let's try something. And you can try this at home. Take any gun, anything that you hear in Kirtan that really strikes you. Take any shabad that you've read in Gurubani that really strikes you, and pick out from those shabads the guns, just the praises of Vaheguru. Pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, whichever ones you want. With those, go to the absolute nth degree and try to reflect on them to the very end. Spend your days and nights trying to figure out how that gun applies to my life, how that gun is inside of Vaheguru. Let's try it now. Let's take the gun, Bakshanhar. We all know what that means? It means the one that forgives. Let's try to dissect the very nth degree of this word. Bakshanhar Maharaj, how have you forgiven? Jako simar aja mal udaryo ganika hu gat pai. Maharaj, in your sanctuary, the prostitutes have been forgiven. But not only them, Ajamal, the one king Pandit who not only had Raj, but also had Brahm Vidya, who was going to become a Pandit, left his Raj and went to the house of a prostitute. And despite that, you forgave him. But let's say, maybe we haven't, Kaam is a common issue, but what's even worse than Kaam? Let's go to the very nth degree of Bakshanhar. Bhai Satta ji, Bhai Balwand ji, in very short terms, they were the singers during the time of Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj. Guru Arjan Dev Ji asked them to do kirtan, and they responded, due to some circumstance, that you only get praise because we do kirtan in your darbar. That was fine. It's okay. You say anything to Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they'll take it. But then they went on to saying, Guru Nanak Dev Ji was only popular, was only praised because Bhai Mardana Ji was with him. It's because of us singers that this panth even goes forward. They said that about Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they said that about Guru Angad Dev Ji, Guru Amar Das Ji, Guru Ram Das Ji, and that was it. Guru Arjan Dev Ji left, and they gave a bachan to the Sangat, a vak, that these two are not to be associated with, that anyone who does must cover their face in dirt, ride on a donkey through all the cities, and then come to me. That was the bachan. So nobody would take them in. They had leprosy, they stopped singing, and they begged city to city for someone to help them. What is worse than even the Guru not being able to forgive you? But this is Maharaj's Kautak because there was still a way to forgive them. It just couldn't be direct anymore. Because they had said the wrong thing about Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So what happened? They went to Bhai Ladda Ji in Lahore, who had been given the daat of Parupkar from Guru Arjan Dev Ji. Bhai Ladda Ji sat on the donkey, covered their face in black polish, and went around city to city to city with people dancing around them, making fun of them, until they finally got to Guru Arjan Dev Ji's darbar. And at that point, Guru Arjan Dev Ji got up and said, Bhai Ladda Ji, what is this? And when they asked, please forgive Bhai Satta Ji, Bhai Balwand Ji, Guru Arjan Dev Ji said, you should have just said it. You didn't have to do all of this riding on the donkey and covering your face. You should have just said it. But Bhai Ladda Ji said, no, it's my responsibility as a Sikh to follow through with your bachan. But that's not even the nth degree. The nth degree of this Sakhi is, those same Bhai Satta Ji, Bhai Balwand Ji were said, sing the praises of the same Gurus that you said wrong about. And their Bani is included in Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. From the very lowest to the very highest. Here we have dissected the word, the gun Bakshanhar. And if you felt it, some part of your inner dimension opened. Some part of your man, it became subtle. You felt something. When you put effort in to praising Maharaj, you will cultivate love, and that is a guarantee. You might think that Guru Granth Sahib Ji, as we see them, sits on a throne, is a king, the king of kings. But that's not only what they are. Because Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj is also the one that comes down to the floor where the Sikhs are, wears very ripped and dirty clothes, carries buckets and buckets of dirt on their head, and uses their very long beard to clean the feet of the Sikhs. That's what Vaheguru actually looks like in their Sargun Sarup. And if that, praising the guns of Maharaj, that was Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj that we just talked about. That is an example of how to cultivate love. Choose the guns that hit you and go to their nth degree. Don't stop thinking about them. Every single moment you get, here's another idea. Put the word pyara in front of Vaheguru. Say it to yourself. And now call them. Pyare Vaheguru, and see that there's going to be a vibration that goes through you. This is how you cultivate love. It doesn't have to be ambiguous. It doesn't have to go in through one ear and come out the other. This is how you do it. Sach nao vadiyai vichar. After hearing this, all the fakirs, they went into a trance. Guru Nanak Dev Ji themselves, they stopped talking and they went into this trance. And the environment became so energized that even the fakirs went into that trance, because Guru Nanak Dev Ji now was giving them a glimpse of what actually they're missing out on. And when they came out of that trance, these fakirs knew that what we were doing was nothing. And that's when they gave up their penances, they fell to the feet of Guru Nanak Dev Ji and asked, how do we propagate your path? This is how Guru Nanak Dev Ji went around all of India, all of the Middle East, and other areas in the world, telling them how to switch to the true path. And this isn't just for those sitting in sarsa, cultivating occult powers. This is also for us. Just because we don't sit on the sides, we have to really look at ourselves. We may have the check marks of a Sikh. All of the check marks may be fulfilled. We might look like a Sikh on the inside. We may even be in Rahat. But if the very core of us has the same desires as these fakirs, fame, power, attention, then what difference does it make that they lived under natural wood and we lived under the processed version of that wood? What difference does it make if the very core of you is still dull, lifeless, and empty? That was not the propagation of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's path. So slow down. When you read the Bani, attempt to understand. Make it go in. Do the effort of turning your mind over and over again into Simran. And then you will get more and more and more grace. With this point, last point is, Guru Nanak Dev Ji didn't come to earth to give you peace. First of all, let's look at the concept of grihast. We as a faith, we wear grihast on our shoulders, on our heads, like an emblem, that it's so different from all the other faiths. And this is something Maharaj talked about in his Udasiyan. We wear it they talked about grihast jivan, but we wear it so proudly, saying, look at this, it's something so unique to our faith. But grihast doesn't mean living in the world as a householder and then running after the same things that the fakirs used to run after. It's always about the money, impressing other people, but nothing about inner spiritual cultivation. Grihe sat. If you want to be a grihasti, don't just call yourself a grihasti because you live in the house. Call yourself a grihasti when you live inside yourself. Grihe sat. Jide greh de vich sat hove, the truth. But Maharaj is so benevolent and kind that they brought this concept to all of us. They said, no, it shouldn't be just a man. It shouldn't be just one or two fakirs that get to go into the mountains and have the right to enlightenment. The right to enlightenment should be for the woman who is bearing a child, who already has a child, can't afford to go to the mountains, and she has a right to enlightenment. The right to enlightenment should be for the disabled person without legs. How can that person go to the mountains and forests? The right to enlightenment should be for everybody. And with that, Guru Nanak Dev Ji's point of enlightenment isn't just peace. There is something even beyond peace, and that is a pure, sheer, overflowing intoxication and ecstasy. How do we know that? Look at Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Jivan themselves. They never settled in one place. And when they did, when they sat down, they weren't just in peace. They were overflowing in ecstasy. There'd be tears running down their eyes. They would go red. In some places, in the Uthanikas, it says Maharaj would become Draviput at a point where you couldn't even tell what was water and what was body at a point. That's how much ecstasy. And he wants You, every single person in the world, to be able to experience that ecstasy. One of the faqirs asked, because we might have this question, isn't this all too much? Do we really need this? One of the faqirs asked, Maharaj, isn't this all too much? What is the need for any of this? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji replied, it's not a question about need. This is who you are, but you've forgotten it. You're incomplete where you are right now, and you deserve to be complete. And they gave the example of the acacia tree. It's a tree that's really known for producing nectar. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, if you ask me that when the tree grows and it's bared its branches, is the tree complete? Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, I would say it's not complete yet. The faqirs say, well, what if the tree buds and it grows leaves? Is the tree complete? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, the tree is not complete yet. What about if it gets flowers, Maharaj? What if it bears fruit? Then the tree has to be complete. And Maharaj says that tree is not complete. That's peace, bearing the fruit. And Maharaj goes on to say that tree is complete when every single slit inside of its bark is oozing with nectar. When every bud, when every fruit is oozing with nectar, that's when that tree is complete. And that is the daat that Guru Nanak Dev Ji gave you on the very first day, to take that anand, to go inside, to cultivate love. So when you hear this, they're not empty filler words. They have grave, grave importance. And it's our responsibility to give life to our ardasa. Whether you feel it on the inside or not, make it your habit. Every single ardas you do in the day, you ask, Maharaj, give me your darshan. In whatever roop you desire. Or if you have the ichha, ask for the darshan. Maharaj, give me effort. Give me prema bhakti. And if this doesn't hit you, say it anyways. Because one day you'll be standing in front of Maharaj and those words will hit you. And that's all it takes. One genuine wish to meet Vaheguru and you've almost guaranteed a path back. That's not for me. This is the bachan of the Brahmgyanis. They say the most expensive thing that you can have in this lifetime after a human body is a genuine, absolute, true desire to meet Vaheguru. Not a forced one, not a said one, but a real, deep, intense desire. And after that, the third most expensive thing is when that Vaheguru comes in the form of a Sargun avatar, as a sant, comes into your life and says, let's go back. That is the daat that everybody at this camp was given. Atma Paratma Eko Kare. Let's take that, cultivate it. Don't think of love as just a word, but let's put it inside. Let's slow down, let's read Gurbani with understanding, with emphasis, and let's call Maharaj Pyare. Because he's really the lover. And despite all of our flaws, because he knows, today Maharaj has said, I will hug you, in the Hukamnama that we received. So that should be evidence enough that he doesn't care. This was the Upadesh, this was how Maharaj transformed everyone on their Udasiya. Sad Sangat Ji, I've made many mistakes. Pulna chukan di khema bakshni, and please bless me so that I can continue doing this, and so that I can have sights, and that we can all have sights of that truth, so that the propagation can be real. And with that, Gaj Baj ke Fateh Bulauni Ji, Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.